All right, so we are going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Aloni. I am with Schneps Media. Schneps Media is the largest local media company with over 100 media outlets from Manhattan to Montauk. And today we are thrilled to be presenting the first time home buyers webinar. And today, this important webinar is going to explore what it takes to buy your first home. And before you get too far in the home buying process, you should make sure you're ready to own a home. So let me introduce you to our experts who are going to answer all these important questions and give you so much information. So first, let me welcome Walter Skowronski. He is a mortgage sales manager at MCU with 20 years of mortgage experience. He has been with MCU for the past 3 years, helping MCU members realize the dream of home ownership. Fun fact about Walter, he loves social events and singing karaoke. Welcome, Walter.
Thank you.
Yes. Now, please welcome Omar Osario. Omar's favorite subject in school was math, which led him to receive a degree in business administration with a concentration in finance, and then to a career in the finance industry. He's worked directly with MCU members since 2014. Now, as a lending sales manager fluent in both English and Spanish, Omar is very passionate about helping members to achieve their goal of home ownership and works to guide his members throughout the process from inception to closing, offering tailored products that fit each member's goals. Fun fact about Omar, he loves sporting events and visiting sporting events in every town and country he visits. Really cool. Welcome, Omar. Now, please welcome Debra Sinodinos. And Debra is the Business Development Manager at MCU, where she has been a valued member for 13 years. In her role, Debra oversees a team of business development officers dedicated to enhancing and growing the MCU membership. Debra has 14 years of early education experience prior to joining MCU. For the past 13 years, Debra has been instrumental in assisting with the growth of MCU's membership. In addition to growing the membership of MCU, Debra is also instrumental in educating members about their finances through their financial literacy series. Debra is a certified credit union National Association financial counselor and a licensed real estate agent. A fun fact about Debra is that she made the transition from teaching young children the fundamentals as a preschool teacher to educating adults about credit unions. Welcome, Debra. Now I'd like to introduce you to Adam Gonda. And Adam is an inside mortgage sales manager. And this is a really cool fun fact about David. He used to own a pig. I love a pig. Welcome, Adam. Adam's going to be answering your questions on the chat and the Q&A. And finally, please meet David. We already met Deborah. Now we're going to meet David Colby. He's the Director Lending Sales at MCU. David has been in financial services for over 2 decades and with MCU for the past 3 years. His team supports MCU members with all of their lending needs. Fun fact about David, he loves to fly and is working to get his pilot's license. Really exciting. Welcome, David.
Thanks so much, Elizabeth.
Absolutely. And I'm going to turn it over to you to give everyone all
Perfect.
the important information.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for the warm introduction. Really excited to be here tonight. Again, David Colby, Director of Lending Sales at Municipal Credit Union. Just a couple of housekeeping items. As Elizabeth had said, the presentation is being recorded, so don't feel like you have to take copious notes. It will be shared with you along with the presentation itself. So sit back, relax, soak in the information. Utilize the Q&A and the chat function to put your questions in the chat. We have qualified individuals that are going to help answer those questions as we go through the presentation. Without further ado, we're going to get into it. So I know Elizabeth already did the introductions. We have Walter Skowronski and Deb Sinodinos. They're going to be leading the presentation. Walter's going to take us through the process of home ownership and what that looks like. And then Deborah is going to share some tools and resources that we have available to help you save up for the down payment and other banking needs and services you may have. Omar and Adam, they're going to be helping man the Q&A and the chat. As you have questions, please feel free to put them into the chat and we'll answer them as we go. The presentation itself takes about 30 minutes. We do like to leave a little bit of time at the end for a Q&A. And if we have time, we'll read some of the questions out loud and answer them in a group setting. Just a quick disclaimer from our friends over in compliance. So MCU has provided this presentation for information and illustrative purposes only and assumes no liability to any persons for its content or any person's reliance on that content. This presentation does not constitute legal or tax advice. Each borrower should consult with qualified legal, tax, real estate, and lending professional. We're a lending professional, so we can help you with respect to his or her particular situation. So just a high level overview. Again, the road to home ownership, there's a lot of different individuals that are part of the process. The goal of the webinar tonight is we're gonna explore what it takes to actually own a home, what the process looks like, and certain questions that you should be thinking about on your road to home ownership. So our goal tonight is to arm you with enough information to answer any questions you may have and help you on your road to home ownership. Topics for discussion in the agenda that we'll cover. So am I ready to buy, right? Should I buy or not? The reality is buying a home is one of the largest transactions most people perform in their life. So there's a lot of questions that are going to be going into the process of buying a home. So can I get a mortgage? Down payment and closing costs involved. And then what do I need to know? What's part of, or who's part of the process? Terms you should know. What's in a mortgage payment? What actually makes up your payment? How to obtain your credit report, the different nuances between a pre-approval and a pre-qual, and how to find a realtor. We have some resources that can help you there as well. So at this point, I'm going to turn over to Walter Skowronski, and he's going to take us from here. Take it away, Walter.
Thanks, David. Hi, everyone. Welcome. So here are some terms that you should know. Amortization. This is the repayment of loan principal over time with scheduled payments that consist of both principal and interest. Your loan balance declines by the amount of principal in the scheduled payment. So in the beginning of your mortgage, for example, you're paying a lot of interest. As you get through the mortgage, the more into the years you go, the more you're tapping into paying off that principal. Annual percentage rate, also known as APR. So the APR shows the cost of your mortgage loan as a yearly rate. The APR includes upfront fees such as points, as well as interest, and is intended to show you the true cost of your loan. When comparing one loan to another, be sure to also compare your APRs to get a true picture of what each one will end up costing you. So an APR, let's say you have two different lenders and they're both quoting you the same interest rate, say 6.5%. If one lender has an APR of say 7% and the other lender has an APR of say 6.75%, that means that typically what that means is the one with the 6.75%, the lesser APR, is charging you less money for the same interest rate. So that's why APRs are very important to understand. Closing costs. So this is going to be the cost of getting a mortgage in addition to your down payment. We typically use anywhere between 3 to 6% of the total loan amount as an estimate. A credit bureau. So this is an agency that collects statistics on individual payment records on loans, credit cards, as well as other debts. We'll get into more about credit and credit bureaus a little bit later in this webinar. So debt to income ratio, or DTI. So this is the ratio of total debt payments such as your mortgage, auto loans, student loans, credit cards, medical bills, things like that. And what we do is we take that and we divide that by your gross income, which is your before tax amount, and it's expressed as a percentage. Home equity. So it's the actual property's current market value less any liens that are attached to the property. So if you have a home that's valued at say $500,000 and you have a mortgage of $300,000, the difference equals the home equity. So in that scenario, your home equity would be $200,000. So that's what the difference is. That's the amount of equity you have in the home. The longer you make your payments on your mortgage, the more equity you will build up, or you will end up having. Increasing your principal payments on your mortgage can also help speed this process up. I covered that initially on one of the first things that we spoke about. Escrow. So this is an account that we set up on your behalf in which a portion of your monthly payment is held to pay property taxes as well as insurance. Gross income. This is the amount of money that you earn before any of those tax deductions or payroll deductions end up hitting your payroll. Points. So a point is a percentage of the loan amount. You would pay points in order to get a lower interest rate. and you may have the option to pay points up front. So what does that mean? So let's say you have a mortgage amount of $100,000. If you wanted to reduce the interest rate on the $100,000, you could pay, say, 1 point, which would represent $1,000. So that's where that 1% or 1 point equates. A pre-approval or a pre-qualification. So the difference between these two is one, we verify information, and the other is a conversation about a mortgage. So a pre-qualification is more of a conversation about a mortgage. This is where it's not a pre-approval. It gives you an estimate of how much money you can borrow. So it would be more of a conversation about your income, assets, and credit. Whereas a pre-approval is where we actually verify everything. So a pre-approval is a commitment from the lender to make a loan to a specified borrower prior to the identification of a specific property. So even if you're pre-approved, just keep in mind, there still is no guarantee that you will get them. To buy or not to buy. So before you get too far into the home buying process, you should be sure that you are ready to own a home. And here are some of those factors that you want to consider. Advantages to buying: build equity and better future home. Consider it like an investment. You know, it's especially in the New York area, right? The values are just going to continually go up and up and up. It gives you that sense of community. I've used as an example for myself, during the holidays, I get to, I specifically picked the location where I live is because I'm within walking distance to where they light up the Christmas tree, and it's the center of town. So I really get that sense of community where I could just walk down the street and kind of engage my neighbors. It's a lot of fun to me. Personalization. So these are updates, landscaping, things like that. Often mention my Uncle Enzo, who loved his purple door. You know what? He owned that house. He could put any color door he wants on it, right? Because he owns it. So that's one of the advantages. And also another advantage may be that, it may offer certain tax advantages. Advantages to renting. There are no surprise expenses. Something breaks, you call the landlord, they take care of it. Oftentimes amenities are included. It's a lot easier to move because usually you have a lot less stuff, and there's less maintenance involved. You don't have to do any of the upkeep. Topics to buying. Keep in mind, when you purchase a home, you're going to have maintenance as well as other expenses. There may be upfront costs. Market variability. So as I had mentioned earlier, where values in New York typically always go up, it can go the other way, right? So market variability means that the value of your home may decrease. And it's also less flexible to move because typically you've accumulated a lot more stuff. Some of the topics regarding renting: there is no tax benefit. You do not have any equity in the home. You will have no control over rent increases, and you could have noisy neighbors. So can you qualify? So these are some of the documents that you're going to want to start gathering before you speak to a loan officer. So you're going to want to talk to a loan officer about being pre-qualified. Remember, pre-qualified is having the conversation about buying a home. So a pre-qualification isn't an approval for a mortgage. It's a less formal way to get an estimate of the range of home prices for you. You do not have to fill out a loan application. And if the lender uses the information, and the lender does use the information provided by you to make that assessment. These are some of the documents that are definitely helpful when you're looking for a pre-qualification, and certainly may be required for a pre-approval. You're going to want to gather 2 to 3 years of your federal tax returns. So that would be your 1040s with all of your schedules attached. 2 years of W-2 statements. Employment history. Typically, we're looking for a 2-year employment history. If you do not have a 2-year employment history, there are cases where that is perfectly acceptable. Like if you had just went to college and you're out of college, say for a year, and now you're in that new position, we could certainly use that 1 year of college as part of your 2-year employment history. Paycheck stubs that include your year-to-date income. We're typically looking for the most recent month. Savings and checking account statements. So this is where the money you're going to be using for the down payment and closing costs are going to be coming from, as well as any government issued identification. And just keep in mind as well, some circumstances will require more documentation, such as a divorce decree, child support, and possibly bankruptcy discharges. So there's going to be 4 factors that count the most in qualifying for a loan. So your credit history. There's a reason why that's the first on our list, right? Credit is extremely important. So your credit score is going to give lenders an indication of your willingness to pay, as indicated by your history of payments. So your credit history often dictates how you're going to manage new credit, like a mortgage, going forward. So in addition, sorry, the screen, there it is. Technical difficulties. We're on track though. Okay, I'm sorry. So, debts. A lender will obtain a credit report and review your debts. Generally, it's going to include payments on all loans, charge accounts, things like that monthly basis. A good goal is to spend about 36 to 38% of your gross income towards all of your debts. Employment history. Your job history is an important consideration for your ability to qualify for a mortgage. The more job stability you've sustained, the better chance lenders will be to help you get the keys to a place to call your own. A steady, secure job will always make your loan application that much stronger. Down payment. So don't count yourself out just because you don't have a lot of money saved. With the protection of mortgage insurance, lenders can offer mortgages to qualified borrowers with a low down payment. So what's a down payment? So when you borrow money for a home, lenders usually require that you contribute some of your own money towards the purchase. Typically a larger down payment, 20% is the standard, means a lower interest rate because lenders have less risk. You're putting more money in, so the lender has less risk when you have more ownership in that property. But keep in mind, you do not need to come up with a full 20% to purchase a home. Mortgage insurance, or MI, helps qualified borrowers realize the dream of home ownership that much sooner. What it does is it compensates the lender for any losses should a borrower be unable to make their payments. Mortgage insurance allows a borrower to get into a home without having to come up with that 20% down payment. The cost of MI or mortgage insurance will depend on your credit score, as well as how much money you're going to be putting for the down payment. So who's who? You're going to be working with many professionals on the road to home ownership. Each person is going to be providing you a specific service to help you become a homeowner. Loan officer, that's what I do. That's what Omar does. That's what Adam does. That's what we do, right? So a loan officer represents one lending institution and their loan programs. They'll help you choose the best mortgage loan based upon your specific situation, and we'll help you complete that pre-approval, pre-qualification, as well as the loan application process. An appraiser. So what do? They're an individual that's licensed in the state where you're purchasing the home to estimate the worth or the fair market value of the property that you're looking to purchase. Closing or settlement agent. So these are the parties that conduct the closing meeting. This role may be filled by an attorney, a title company, a real estate agent. It really depends on the state where the property is located. For example, in New York, that's an attorney state. So an attorney would be the closing agent. In, say, Pennsylvania, it can be the realtor that does it. So different states have different kind of rules. And just as a reminder, we do lend in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Pennsylvania. So those are the 4 states that we currently lend in, looking to add more as we get through the year. A loan servicer. So this is the entity that collects your mortgage payments. It may or may not be the lender. And what they do is they'll also pay your taxes and insurance and mortgage insurance if required on your behalf. Mortgage insurer, so PMI. So mortgage insurance allows a borrower to get into a home without having to come up with that 20% down payment that we spoke about earlier. It also compensates the lender for any losses should a borrower be unable to make their payments. Property inspector. Oftentimes, when you're purchasing a home, one of the first things you do is order a property inspection. So there's an individual that conducts an examination of the home. The inspector will look for issues that may affect the value of the property and can also assess the condition of the property. A real estate agent. So this is the person who acts as an intermediary between the sellers and the buyers of the property being purchased. The agent can provide helpful and specific community information. So what goes into your mortgage payment? So we call it PITI. Your monthly mortgage payment is likely to include these four parts. So principal is the portion of your monthly payment that reduces the balance of your loan amount. Interest, that's the portion of your monthly payment that is applied towards your interest. So the principal and interest would be the actual mortgage payment. Then you would have the taxes. If escrowed, it's usually going to represent 1/12 of the annual property tax bill because there's 12 months in a year. Insurance. Property insurance is going to be required on every home, and a monthly insurance amount is usually included with each mortgage payment and held in escrow until the bill is due to be paid. Last on the list there is mortgage insurance or private mortgage insurance or PMI that may be required when putting less than 20% down. All of these things make up your monthly mortgage payment. So understanding your credit score is going to have a major impact on a mortgage, from your ability to qualify to the eventual interest rate you get on the loan. The lender is going to order your credit report to assess your ability and your willingness to pay a mortgage. It's a good idea to order a copy of your own report before you apply. Your credit record can be obtained from a credit reporting agency, which is an agency that collects statistics on individual payment records on loans, credit cards, as well as other debts. There may be mistakes on reports. I mean, nobody's perfect, right? So that's why it's always a good idea to order your own credit report now, review it, and just make sure that it contains accurate information. Federal law requires that each of the three nationwide consumer credit reporting agencies, that's Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, that they give you a free credit report every 12 months. And this is in bold for a reason. If you ask for it, they're certainly not going to offer this to you. So you're going to have to request it. We found that the easiest and most reputable website is annualcreditreport.com. So you're going to order your credit report. Now you're going to review it. So in reviewing your credit report, you're going to want to check it for any inaccurate information. Some creditors may not report to all three agencies, so your information and credit score will vary between the three different credit bureaus. Here's what you can expect to see on a credit report. You'll have personal information. It's not uncommon to have variations or misspellings of your name. I've looked at my own credit report, and sometimes I'll have a middle initial, other times I don't, things like that. That's what we mean by variations. Most credit agencies are going to leave these variations in your credit reports to ensure that they maintain the link between your identity as well as the credit information. So you don't want to lose that information just because somebody made a mistake on a middle initial somewhere on your application. Account history. This is going to be the section that includes your credit accounts as well as the details about your payment history. This is important, so you're definitely going to want to make sure that the data is correct. Public records. This includes information like bankruptcies, judgments, tax liens, as well as court records. Some of this information may stay on your credit report for up to 7 to 10 years. Credit inquiry. You're going to see a list of parties who have access to your credit report within the past 2 years. So don't be surprised if you applied for a credit card a year and a half ago to see that name pop up. So that's what that means. So what can you afford? So in addition to your lender, there's going to be many online calculators available to help you determine just how much of a house you can afford. we like to use an easy guideline to follow, which is the 38% rule. So your total monthly debt should never add up to more than 38% of your gross income. This is also called DTI, or debt to income. To do a quick estimate of what you can afford, there's two basic numbers that you're going to need. You're going to need your gross income. So there's the income before any taxes or deductions are taken out. And you're going to need to know what your monthly debits are. So this is going to include payments on your charge cards, card payments, as well as other installment loans. You would not include your current rent or housing payment in this particular scenario. So this is just a little example. You would take your gross income, which is going to be, say, 36,000. You divide that by 12. Gives you a number of 3,000. So that's your monthly number, your monthly income. You would multiply that by 38% to determine what your maximum debt can be, which in this case is $1,140. You subtract your current monthly debts, which are your credit cards, things like that. So you would subtract out the $200. And what we're left with is the maximum mortgage payment that you could potentially afford. So here are some of the steps to choosing your home. Before you shop for your home, here are some tips to get you started. Know your budget. So a lot of times when I'm talking to our members, they want to, Walter, just qualify me for the most that I could afford. And I asked them, well, look, what are you comfortable with? If I could qualify you for $1 million home, is that really something you want to do? And if the answer is yes, more power to them. If not, that's why I'm asking, what's your budget? You're going to know what you're comfortable buying. Don't get emotionally attached. Keep in mind, this is a business transaction. So, there's a seller, there's going to be you, a buyer, there's attorneys, there's realtors, all sorts of stuff. So treat it as a business venture. This is do not get emotional. Do your research. Make sure you want to live in the area that you're looking at a home. Think ahead. Make sure it's close enough to work. Make sure it's close enough for the kids to go to school. It's close to public transportation, things like that. And definitely try to look at more than one house, because the more houses you look at, the more of an understanding you're going to have of what you're looking for in a home. So you're going to notice on one, like my Uncle Enzo, he had the purple door. Hey, you know what? I love the purple door house. Why? Because it's purple. Things like that. So as you get into the different houses, you're going to notice different things that you're going to want in your home. And look, once you've determined how much home you can afford, the next step is to find that home that is right for you. So you're going to want to choose an agent. I gave it away. I was going to ask the question. With the world of information now available at our fingertips, is a real estate agent still necessary in the home buying process? So this is probably going to be the largest financial business decision of your life. You're going to need a buyer's agent who represents you in the buying process. Here are some tips just to help you out in finding the agent who's right for you. Experience. Do you want to work with somebody who's new to the business? Are you comfortable with someone who's got 10, 20, 30 years involved in the business? So, whichever way you want to go with that, whatever is important to you, go with that direction, right? What area do they cover? If you're buying a home out here on Long Island where I live, are you going to use a realtor who specifically handles upstate New York? Of course not. So you're going to want to use someone who's local to your area. Credentials. How many houses have they sold in the past year? If it's important to you that they sell a lot of homes and they're very active in the areas that you're looking to purchase, you want to make sure that they're doing that. If it's not, and they've only sold, say, less than 10 homes in a year, and you're comfortable with that because they may have more time to spend with you looking at homes, then go for that. It's really how you want to develop this partnership and how you want to be partnered up with a realtor. And look, you could definitely interview prospective agents. You go out there, get recommendations from your friends, family members, your your attorney, your mortgage guy or gal, get any recommendations you can. Go out there, meet a bunch of them, and look, you're going to be spending a ton of time with the realtor, so make sure that you are comfortable with working with them. So that's why it's important to interview prospective agents. Home Advantage is something we have for our members here at MCU. Home Advantage can help you search, buy, sell, and save on your next real estate transaction. Use it to find the home of your dreams, sell your existing home, as well as research the market, connect with a top local agent, and save money at closing. This is going to be available to you as an MCU member at no additional cost. We do have programs for first-time home buyers, whether it be from down payment assistance to homeowner counseling. There's a wide range of programs that can help you get into your first home. Here are some that MCU participates in. We do have a first-time home buyer rate discount. We do offer up to 97% financing, and we currently are waiving $900 in fees. So about that first-time home buyer rate discount, you do need to be a first-time home buyer. What that means is within the past 3 years, you must have not owned a home or had a mortgage. And this discount is 0.25% off any of our MCU fixed rate mortgages that we offer. So the rate discount can't be combined with any other offers, but 0.25% off of any of our fixed products that you'll see on our website. We also offer grants. This is what we currently have for 2025. Something that we're very proud of, and it's very near and dear to our hearts, is the MCU Foundation Grant. This is for first-time home buyers. It does include all states that we are licensed to lend in, which is New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, as well as Pennsylvania. And grant approvals are anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000, depending on your liquid reserves. And we did have the email address up there. It's grants@nymcu.org. Thank you. We didn't. Thanks, David. It's MCU Foundation Grant. You can find that on our website.
Can you just say that website one more time, Walter?
Yep. So the email address, so our website is nymcu.org, O-R-G. The email address for our foundation, for our MCU Foundation Grant, is grants@mcu.org. I'm sorry, I botched that. It's grants@nymcu.org.
Great. I'll put that in the chat.
Perfect. All right. Walter, thanks for taking us through the road to home ownership. At this time, I'm going to turn over to Deb Sinodinos. She's going to talk about some of the different products and services we have that can help you save for a down payment or help you with the other financial needs.
Thanks, David. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining the First Time Homebuyers webinar tonight. There's been some great information that Walter has given us. I'd like to also share some valuable information about MCU's products that can help you on your journey to homeownership. First, we have our high yield savings account. It's one of our best offerings. It's unlike the traditional savings account because it offers you a higher interest rate, which helps your money grow faster. It's a great tool for first-time home buyers to build your down payment. So let me explain a little bit about the high yield savings account. Our high yield savings account earns an interest rate of 3.2%. So, which is about 8 times more than the average savings account. What's great about this high yield savings account, and kind of sets it aside from others at especially commercial banks, is that in order to start earning 3.2%, there must be a balance of $5,000 of new money in your MCU account. However, you do not need to maintain that balance if for some reason there's a time where you need to do some withdrawing. So you don't have to worry about maintaining the balance, and you will continue to earn the 3.2%. Also, I'd like to tell you about our CDs, another great way to get that money that you're saving to earn more and earn higher interest, so you'll get to that down payment a little bit quicker. We currently have an 11-month CD that is earning 4% interest. with a minimum deposit of $5,000, and we have a 9-month CD, which is offering 3.5% with a minimum deposit of $500. So these are all great tools to help you get to that down payment. Another account that I like to talk about, and it's helpful in a bit of a different way, are club accounts. They're savings accounts. They're called our holiday and vacation accounts. What's great about them is that you do not see them at the ATM. So it's kind of like, you don't see it, you don't know it, you don't see it, you don't want to spend it. Once a year, those accounts pay out into your savings account. So you set it up so that there's an automatic deduction either coming out of your check, or you set it up to come out of another account to go directly into this club account. And once a year, that money will become available to you. It's a great way, out of sight, out of mind, to save money. I've had many people use it for things other than the holidays or for a vacation. So it's another great way to make sure your money's there, accessible to you if you need it, but not so easy to get to, and you kind of forget about it. Using MCU savings account really helps you get to where you want to get to and make that home purchase possible. Our team, as you see here tonight, is here to guide you through the process of making these home ownership dreams possible. So just remember, the key to home ownership is smart saving, and using our high yield savings account or one of our CDs is a great way to help you get there. So I encourage you to use these accounts. I want to thank you for your time tonight, and I look forward to being able to support you in any way that I can on your journey.
Perfect, Deb. Thanks so much. Love to hear all the different information and how we can help. I'm going to flip to the next slide. It's got Walter and Deb's contact information, so feel free to reach out to them directly if obviously you want to establish membership, or if we want to have a conversation around lending, whether that be a mortgage or any of our other lending products. But thank you everybody. It's been wonderful. And now we're going to turn it over to the Q&A chat. Omar and Adam, I don't know if we have any questions that we can answer at this time.
Right now, we have nothing here. We had a couple questions that came through during the presentation.
Maybe you could
we were able to
share, maybe you could share a little bit about that, because everyone may not see all the questions. So why don't you share a little bit about what those questions were? Because I always find if one person asks, a lot of people have that question.
Great
Yeah,
point.
of course. So one of the questions was actually surrounding bankruptcy. So somebody wanted to know if they are able to get a home if they have a bankruptcy on the credit report in the past. So I know Omar and I both spoke to it because it came in the chat and in the Q&A. It certainly depends on the type of bankruptcy that was filed or dismissed. It depends on how long the waiting period is. It can be up to 7 years. I know in the chat we mentioned it was between 2 to 4. It can actually be up to 7 years if there are multiple filings. Typically, if it's just one, it is between 2 to 4, but it can be up to 7.
Terrific.
Somebody also asked about escrow. Omar, would you mind explaining escrow just a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be more than happy to. So pretty much escrow account is an account that's set up on your behalf by us. And it pretty much every month when you put into your mortgage payment, we hold some money for your homeowner's insurance and for your property taxes. And we set up that account to pay that on your behalf. So that way, when you pay for your mortgage, you have a peace of mind that, you're not backed up on any property taxes or any homeowner's insurance, because we'll be paying that on your behalf. At the end of the year, you'll get a letter, just explaining, what we paid for an escrow.
Someone wanted to know an important thing. They said, I'm currently not an MCU member. How do I become a member?
Thanks, Liz. I was actually going to do that to answer it live. Deb, would you like to speak to that?
Sorry, can you repeat that? I'm breaking.
It's a person who's currently not an MCU member, and they want to know how they can become one.
Oh, that's easy. That's you can contact me. You can send me an email. You can text me. I can get an application to you, an electronic application. All I would need is ID. I can offer a conversation if that's what you'd like to learn a little bit more about our regular savings and checking account. I'd be happy to do that as well.
Thanks, Deb.
And I'm going to put Deb's contact information, even though it's on the screen, I'm going to put it in the chat so it makes it a little bit easier for you just to copy and paste it if you wanted. What about if you could share a little bit? I know there were some questions about the cash down payment, about would that make it easier?
So in regards to the down payment,
Yes.
yeah, I'll be happy to touch up on a little bit on a down payment. So at MCU, if you're looking to do financing, we can finance up to 97% of the property's value, meaning you can become a homeowner with as little as 3% down. And we do offer 3% down plus closing costs, and we do have down payment assistance, and we can offer some grants just to offset a little bit of that down payment and the closing costs to just help out someone who may not have that full amount, or maybe that has the 3%, but that down payment can help them put maybe a little bit more towards that down payment and maybe do it 95% financing.
And
Thanks, Omar.
maybe you can
Oh,
also share with us, one of the things that I'm always struck by in reading all your bios and talking with you is the real passion you have for helping people become homeowners. How important is it when you're choosing your mortgage banker? How important is that in moving through the process?
Yeah, I can definitely, answer that. Definitely want someone who's passionate, who's gonna help guide you and understand your situation and see what the best route is for you to become a homeowner, if that's what something that you want to do. One thing I do is I try to relate and try to see what are their concerns up front with home ownership, and just let them know that, try to alleviate some of the concerns. And if there's an actual real concern, definitely highlight, what can happen in that scenario, and just to see how we can work together and see if the obstacles is something that we can overcome, or maybe it's something that you may want to hold off on the process at the moment because it's a true concern. Because we don't want to force home ownership on someone. We always want to make sure that they're making their best financial decision in their future.
You made a good point too, in that, everyone is very unique and how important it is to bring you all in early. Someone was just asking, should we check out areas we'd like to live in first or reach out to a realtor and let them help? And, they wanted to, also this person was asking, if we see a house on Zillow, what's the best route? One of the things is, how important it is to bring you all in early, not at the end, but in the beginning to help with the planning.
Yeah, I want to just touch on a couple things. When it comes to home ownership, right? It should be a conversation and a consultation. Elizabeth, you said it perfectly, right? Bring the loan officer or one of us in earlier into the process. It's great if you want to go casually look at homes, right? But having that conversation up front, being able to break down what Omar said, right? Your questions, concerns, things you're excited about, right? We can help you sort of narrow down and figure out, which area may be right for you. We also have the resources too to help connect you with a realtor when you're ready to start having that conversation, right? We can have that pre-qual conversation or pre-approval conversation. So you're not looking at homes that are just outside of your budget, right? It all sort of starts with the upfront consultation with a qualified loan officer that can set you on the right path and help you obtain home ownership if that's what you're looking to do.
Great.
David, that was great info. And then, Liz, I know you started to touch on this question here too. Somebody is asking, they know about Zillow and Redfin, all these other sites. Should they start checking out areas on their own? Should they reach out to the realtor and let them help? Or I guess first step should be with a loan officer.
Yeah,
I would say the
definitely.
first step with a loan officer, and the reason why is because we're going to have that budget conversation, right? We're going to help you narrow. It's great, like I said, if you want to casually go and look for a property, you absolutely can do that, explore areas. But the initial conversation is going to be around budget, what it is that you truly think you can afford and what you're comfortable with. And that'll sort of put the first step in the path for you to be able to start looking and exploring areas. Is having that conversation around budget and what it is that you're looking for. That would be my suggestion.
That's great. It actually segues a little bit into another question here. They're asking if a single family home is harder to get an approval for than a multifamily home. I don't know, Omar or Walter, if you'd like to talk to that.
Yeah, I can chime in. So it all depends. You have it's having a multifamily home it's not for everyone because essentially you have a multi-unit home, and if you're looking to rent it out to someone, it depends the state you're in. There's laws, and if someone misses out on a payment for 30 days, how quickly can you, start, the proceedings to getting that person evicted. So you do want to have some reserves behind if you're doing a multi-family home. And sometimes a single family home, it's helpful, but a multi-family home with that rental income can help you qualify for a better home, meaning a larger amount that may be tailored for you. So it's definitely a conversation that you have to have with the loan officer, see what are the pros and cons of a multi-family and a single family home, and see what's the best fit for you.
Yeah. And Omar, I think to your point, the word fit, right? There is no one size fits all. So it's very much what you're comfortable with. I mean, as a first time home buyer, getting into like say a two-family property, nothing wrong with that. Go for it. I mean, if that's something that you're passionate about and that you really want, we'll figure out a way to make that happen for you, or we'll take a look at your income, assets, and credit, and determine if that's the right plan for you. Others, are just getting into that first home that they're purchasing, and it's going to be a struggle enough just to remember how your dad used to say, hey, turn the lights off, like it's going to be, just managing yourself in a single family home can be a lot of pressure for people. So if that's something that might be your thing, where you might get a little nervous about getting a two family, then stick with a single family. So it really, we by having the conversation with the loan officer first, we could determine, or at least assist you in what you're looking at and what you're looking to purchase.
Great. You know what I'd love to kind of end on, because I want to respect everyone's time, but if each one of you, if your best friend or family member asked you, what should I know about first time home buying? What would you say to them? Get a little insider.
I'll get started. So first thing I would advise them is, how much do you believe you can afford when you're going to start the process? And let's say if you can afford a certain amount, what's the difference between that amount and your current housing payment? And are you saving that money? So if you're saving that money, you're already prepared to pay for that mortgage and you would have no problems. But let's say if your rent is 1,800, your mortgage is going to be about 3,000. You're not saving that 1,200 a month, may be a lot harder for you to make that monthly mortgage payment. So it's something that I would always say is just strategize, try to save, and try to practice before you become a homeowner.
Great advice. Walter, what's your insider tip?
Sure. You know what I love about doing my job? I mean, I love my job for a lot of different reasons. I am very passionate about helping people purchase homes, but I am the most popular guy at the Christmas party, at Thanksgiving dinner, 4th of July. Everybody wants to talk to the mortgage guy, and if it's not the mortgage guy, it's always going to be the realtor. So either way, or the plumber, right? Everybody's got a problem with their plumbing. So I'll come in third place respectfully, right? Which is fine with me. So what I always tell all of my friends, families is, you know what, buy sooner rather than later. A lot of people that I'm friends with are like, look, prices, they're just going up. I want to wait. I want to wait. I want to wait. There's a term that we use called date the rate, but buy the home, right? Marry the home. Rates are going to be what rates are going to be. Buy when you can, buy when the time is right, buy. Values, in my opinion, are always going to go up. And if for some reason there's a downturn in the market, it's usually temporary. 2008 happened, right? That was when everything kind of just fell apart. Hopefully, knock on wood, that doesn't happen again. But that was a once in a lifetime type of situation. I say buy. I say, take the money that you have in the bank and work it out with your mortgage guy, or we're back at the barbecue, right? So we're at the 4th of July barbecue. I'm like, look, give me a buzz, or I'll break out my HP 12C calculator and I'll say, hey guys, let's run some numbers right now. there's always a way to figure out something to purchase a home, and I highly recommend doing it.
That's such great advice. Nobody ever said, "Oh, darn, I'm so sorry I bought property early." Everyone always says, "Ugh, I should have bought."
Yep.
Great, great advice. David, you want to jump in?
Yeah, no, they some great insight. I have to lean towards what Walter was saying, right? I've owned multiple properties myself. Um, the right time to buy is now, right? Do your research would be another piece of advice I would give to any individual that's looking for home ownership. And I loved what Omar had mentioned, right? Practice before you buy. Um, that's a huge benefit to know that you're going to go in and be comfortable with the transaction because you're able to already sort of make that practice mortgage payment. So I love that piece of advice. And also too, make sure that you're prepared for unexpected expenses, right? Home ownership, when Walter was going through the different topics around renting versus buying, you have to be prepared. Something eventually will come up. You're going to need to replace that hot water heater or your plumbing. You're going to need to call that plumber, which is expensive, right? Have a little bit of money tucked away just for emergencies would be something I would recommend as well.
That's great advice. Well, thank you. This has really been so informative. I'm seeing on the chat, people are saying thank you so much. It's been great. We are going to share, as we shared earlier, the recording of this, and you will also get a copy of these slides. Also, tomorrow you'll get the recording. You'll also get contact information as well via email. So you'll be able to reach out to Walter, Omar, Deborah, and be able to get things started and get yourself on the road to home ownership. So thank you so much, Omar, Walter, Deborah, Adam, and of course, David. Thank you so much for being here and imparting your wisdom on all of us tonight. And to all of
Thank
you
you
who
so
joined
much.
us, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you on a future webinar. Have a great night, everyone.
Our pleasure.
Have a
Our
wonderful
pleasure.
night.
Thank you so
Bye,
much.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.